If you ever use one of these, a Garmin inReach for hiking or camping or fishing or hunting or whatever you like to do in the woods, there are certain settings you should absolutely turn on. We're going to go through those so that you can make sure that you're getting the most of this little device when it comes to your safety.
Gear up and get outside.
As of the time of filming, Garmin recently changed their subscription plans for the inReach. I'm not going to dive into all the details of each of these plan tiers, but suffice it to say that the settings that I'm going to go through apply to any of them. However, if you're paying extra for the higher tier plans and you like to use features like tracking all the time, then you may use slightly different settings in a couple of cases. Regardless of the plan you use, the first setting that you should turn on is the map share setting. When you log into your Garmin Explore account, you'll be able to go up here and go to the map share tab here. You'll see this window and you want to toggle this on. If it's toggled off, which I believe it was by default, then you're not going to be able to share a map with friends and family with whom you want to stay in contact and who you want to be able to track you while you're out on a trip. So make sure, first and foremost, that that is turned on. You'll also have an opportunity to edit the URL for that, and then you can just share that URL with anybody, and they'll be able to access the map. But there are a few settings associated with the map share that I think you need to look at. So you go to map share settings here. When you open your map share settings, there are 3 checkboxes here, and there are 2 of these that I think you should turn on. Allow map viewers to locate you and show waypoints created in the field on map share. But personally, I do not by default check the box for allow map viewers to send you messages. The reason being that I have my inReach information shared with my family and friends that I want to be able to contact me, and I don't use a password on my shared map, and if for some reason someone got in there, I don't want them spamming me with messages while I'm out in the woods, because those messages can cost me money because I only pay for the lowest tier plan, and I don't necessarily love the idea of any stranger being able to contact me. But if you do want to use a password and restrict who can have access to this map, then that's a feature that you may opt to turn on as well. But the reason I like to allow map viewers to locate you is because I think that is an important thing for safety. When you actually open up the map share map, it'll look something like this, and this is what anybody looking at it at home will see while you're on the trail. If you have tracking turned on, they'll be able to see where you're at. But if you don't have tracking turned on, like I usually don't, then there will be no trail, so they won't necessarily know where you're at any given time. Now, generally, you're probably going to do like me, and you're going to check in a couple times a day, just using the check-in feature because you can send as many of those check-in messages as you want for free, even with the basic plan. But if you don't check in on time, or if someone's trying to track down where you are and they're a little bit concerned about you, by turning on this feature of allow map viewers to locate you, they can go right here to locate, and they can hit request. What's going to happen is it's going to ping your Garmin inReach device in the field and then give them a location. Now, again, if this is a publicly accessible map and somehow your URL got out there and you've got a bunch of strangers on there, maybe you do want to put a password on that map share. But for me, this feature allows my wife or my dad or my brother or anybody that wants to make sure I'm doing okay be able to find out exactly where I am at any given time. And that way, if I don't check in, they can be at peace knowing where I'm at least. And then they can try to message me if they want. Now, when you do this, it may take a while and you may even need to come back 20 minutes later. In fact, if their device isn't turned on in the field or the battery's dead, you won't necessarily get a location by requesting it right here on the map. But this is a great way for someone to try to figure out where you're at if they really don't know and they're concerned. Now, when you check the box, show waypoints created in the field on map share, what that's going to do is if you do create any waypoints just with your Garmin device here, which you can do just by clicking through the buttons on the menu, then what that will do is it will share that with the people at home on map share as well. And that might be useful if you need to create a rendezvous point. Let's say you're having trouble, your trip's got to end early, you were doing a point-to-point trail and you're going to have to bow out early. You need someone to come pick you up. You could set a waypoint on your Garmin inReach where you're going, and then they could see where that waypoint is on the map and get precise coordinates and meet you there. That's just one example of why that feature might be handy. I've never actually used that feature, but it is a setting that I turn on in case we need it. All right, so that's 3 settings you should turn on. Here are 3 more. When you go to your account page in Garmin Explore from your desktop computer, you're going to see down here under SMS configuration 3 checkboxes. I check all 3 of those boxes. One is include my latitude and longitude as text in the message. So that will give an actual latitude and longitude coordinate in the message that you send to anybody, whether that's a check-in message or whether you're sending text back and forth. Again, for safety reasons, that gives your loved ones a precise location of where you are at. For similar reasons, I check the box next to include a link to an online map with the location of my message, not a map share map link. So even if you didn't turn map share on or you're sharing it with someone that doesn't have your map share link, they can still be able to pull up a message and at least see your location on a map. That could also be useful in an emergency situation where someone is trying to locate exactly where you're at. The third setting, include my name as a signature. That's important because when you send these messages, it's not going to show up like it's coming from your regular cell phone. So they might see it from an unrecognized number or a weird email address. It could even go in somebody's spam box. So you want to make sure that they know who it's coming from. And that way it'll just put your name down there and they'll know, oh, this is from Chase. So 3 quick settings you should definitely turn on. Now, before I leave this page, I'm going to mention 2 settings that I turn off as a hiker. And that is these position reporting settings. The Leidos flight service box should be unchecked and the flight aware box should be unchecked. Those are designed for pilots. These are 2 settings that are really handy if you're using their flight apps, but it doesn't really apply to hiking, so I turn those off. Now, the last setting that you should turn on isn't really an on or off switch, but it's this emergency notes box. And right in here, as you can see, I put that I am allergic to penicillin and I have asthma. Those notes are going to be made available to emergency services personnel in the event that you ever find yourself in an emergency. And it'd be awfully handy for them to know a couple of things like that. So if you have any certain medical conditions that you want to disclose, this is a good place to put that. As a bonus, there's one other setting I recommend you turn off so that you don't have messy tracks when you're out there in the field. If you are going to use the tracking feature, I go to the tracking settings, and here where it says auto track, I turn that off. The reason I do that is because before, when I had auto track turned on automatically, even when I was paying for the higher service level for a while and had free tracking, I didn't like that it automatically started tracking when I turned the device on, because sometimes I would turn it on while I'm still driving to the field, and then I was recording all this way along the highway that I didn't care about. So I like to turn that on as soon as I start my hike, and I'd rather do that manually. So I recommend that you turn that off. But that's kind of a personal preference. What did I miss? Are there other settings that you recommend every hiker turn on or turn off on their Garmin inReach? Let us know in the comments. I hope you found this video helpful. Subscribe to the channel for more, and we'll see you on the next one.